What do you want?
The Spider-Men. You know who they are, don't you?
Why?
They ruined my son.
Good. We all have to experience loss. Even you, Norman.
What are you writing?
The final chapter.
Hello there, and welcome to a very special bonus episode of the video game podcast, PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Miles to my Peter, John. John, are you ready to just talk a hell of a lot of Spider-Man?
Yeah, I haven't been able to discuss Spider-Man with anybody over the past week. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's into it. So I'm really excited to actually get it off my chest for sure.
Yeah. I should have checked before we recorded, like, the completion rate, because it was hitting 50% of people that have completed the trophy Heal the World.
Okay.
So I think a lot. I'm assuming you're being sarcastic that everyone's playing it, everyone's beating it.
Yes, you know me, Nick. I'm sarcastic by nature, but yeah, I was I was listening to, as I always do, as I bring up, I think probably every show at this point, Sacred Symbols, and Colin Moriarty has a maxed out friends list. He has 2,000 friends on PlayStation, and he said that it said 570 of his friends were playing Spider-Man 2. which is insane, because he's like, yeah, usually like on a big release there's maybe 50 to 100. Like when you get a God of War, things like that, you maybe approach like the 3 to 4, but I don't think he said he's ever seen that many. So yeah, it's the talk of the town for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man is, as we talked about, as popular as ever. He had the Across the Spider-Verse earlier this year. He's got this video game. The character is just firing on all cylinders. Like, he is probably one of the biggest pop culture icons right now.
Let me ask you this, Nick. You're an MCU lover. Would you say that Spider-Man is bigger than the entire MCU right now? With that one character?
As it currently stands, probably.
He's a juggernaut
without
right
Robert
now.
Downey Jr. and without Chris Evans as Iron Man and Captain America. Yeah, I think Spider-Man is probably the linchpin of hopefully the future of the MCU. So
that him and potential X-Men, but that might link into the next Insomniac game. But that's way down the road.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. And what we're going to start with is we're going to go through the side missions first. So we're going to go into the side missions, and then we'll talk about the story, because that will just naturally lead to where we think the future of the franchise is. Even though a couple side missions here also may lead into the future of the franchise. And where I wanted to start first is the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man app request. There was 6 of them, which seems little. I thought there were more, but yeah, there were only 6. And the 6 were Find Grandpa, Rooftop Fireworks, Photo Help, Howard, Graffiti Trouble, and Monster in Queens. Now, is there anyone you wanted to start with, John?
Yeah, not one particularly. I will say I have 2 out of those that are kind of I wanted to touch on a little bit, but
let's do it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, most of those are your standard open world fare where you just need to have some activities to do, like the photo and the graffiti. So those didn't really do much for me, but the best side mission I think in the game, and I think a lot of people kind of share this sentiment, is the Howard's Pigeons kind of wrapping up that character. Anybody who's familiar with the first Spider-Man games knows that Howard was a character in there, and you had to go around the city and chase all of his pigeons, so it was cool to see him again. But man, it's nice that I don't have to be worried about spoilers right now. I love this. But yeah, as we kind of find out, we get reacquainted with him. He's looking to make sure that his pigeons are like ready to, just kind of find a permanent home, let them back into the wild, let them be free. And you're kind of thinking like, well, what's up, Howard? Like, are they just, are you just ready to not do it anymore? Unfortunately, I kind of had the feeling immediately what was happening, and I think most people did, but I think it was still done really well, where Howard knew that his life was coming to an end. You go find the pigeons a wonderful home near where Peter grew up, I do believe.
Yep.
You get some special music along the way, which just kind of adds to the extra emotions and feelings of that side quest. And then, you go back to report back to Howard, and you just kind of are greeted with an ambulance, unfortunately. So, it definitely has that emotional resonance, which I think no other side quest really even had any type of emotional resonance with me at all. So this one kind of stuck out.
Yeah, that song is Seabird by the Alessi Brothers, FYI, if you want to listen to it. Yeah, I think. What did you think of in the previous? Did you like the pigeon missions? I thought they were kind of not a great quest in Spider-Man 1.
No, they weren't. It was just a way for Insomniac to make the player kind of just get acrobatic with the way you got to swing, right? And you're just it's because you have the crimes with the cars that you have to chase, but those are really easy to follow, obviously, because they're just on a street, so you just follow the streets. But these pigeons were going up and down and left and right, and you'd kind of lose them. Yeah. But no, by the I don't know, you probably did 10 or 12 of them. By the 12th one, I was just like, all right, man, like I'm done. I'm done with these. So. Yeah,
and so if they didn't add the song to this, I didn't think the mission was all that great. I didn't really feel anything about it. And like you said, it was kind of obvious where it was going.
Yeah.
And kind of funny, did a spoiler cast with the director, Brian Intihar. And he said this quest was made in like 2 days out of nowhere. Like nobody prompted this quest to exist. But I think the lead quest designer in just a few days came up with this quest. And they're like, yep, that's in the game.
Huh.
So yeah, I recommend everyone listen to that kind of funny spoiler cast too, because they get some insight from the creative director himself. So. Oh,
so all right. Well, hold on. I'm gonna reach out to Brian Intihar now and see if we can get him on our show. Bastards.
You said this was the only emotional one. A lot of other people we're talking about the grandpa one.
Yep.
I don't know if was that a mission you could be Peter or Miles. I don't remember.
I think you could do both. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a list right now, and it says it has Peter/Miles. So yeah, you can be either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was Miles for that one. And it felt good.
Definitely, because the picture I see is Peter talking to Grandpa. So absolutely.
Yeah. So I had this conversation before with other people that I kind of don't like that Spider-Man does this stuff. Like there's more important things going on in the world than a lady losing her grandpa. But sure. I understand, now that I've thought about it more, is that kind of what makes Spider-Man more relatable than like a Batman, right? Batman's not hanging around sitting on a park bench and reminiscing with an old grandpa. Batman's knocking out the criminals and leaving on to his next thing. But what makes Spider-Man great is this connection he has with the city, he has with the residents, and a mission like this just kind of like emphasizes that. So I've kind of turned about face. Like I just kind of accept that that's kind of Spider-Man's thing, even though the mission is kind of silly.
Well, and I can't think of another superhero that's embraced by the people quite to the level that Spider-Man is. You think of the Batmans and Iron Mans and Captain Americas. It always seems like there's a good and a bad side. And Spider-Man does have his arcs where like people are against him, but this is not that arc. This is everybody loves both of the Spider-Mans. And so, yeah, it makes sense that he's going to reach a little bit more of a personal connection with people. So I agree. It does seem on the surface a little weird, but when you think about it, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah. And so the only other mission I wanted to point out was Graffiti Trouble. I think one of the strengths of this game too is that it has a deaf character and there's a lot of sign language, which we just don't see in a lot of media. Outside of the horror movie, what was it called, The Quiet Place?
Yeah, A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place, yeah, where they had.
I thought you were talking about Hush for a second, where like the main character actually was deaf and she was like dealing with a intruder in her home.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've not seen that, but in A Quiet Place, there's a deaf actress as well. So it's cool to have this deaf character in the game, you know, Miles' love interest, but in Graffiti Trouble, you actually play as her, and you kind of experience what it's like to be a deaf person, which is, you know, there's no audio cues. It's very visual. The mission itself was kind of silly, and I think this is also a good point to point out, like, all the weird little stuff you had to do in this game that just you do once and never comes back, including in this mission, the spray can, where you had to where you shake the dual sense, and then you have to, like, you know, guide the sticks, but
yeah, reminded me of what was it, Infamous? I think it was like one of the first time I remember doing that.
yeah. But yeah, that's kind of it as far as the missions for me. Was there any other ones you wanted to mention?
No, I know. I mean, everything else, you know, Marco's, those are just, again, open world fodder.
We're going to go over those.
Oh, so
I'm just talking about the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Oh,
apps.
right. No, that's it.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next one, which is a pretty big one, and that is The Flame. This is the story where we get to work with Yuri for a bit, who is now the vigilante Wraith. What do you think of the character Wraith?
I'm not really a fan.
No.
No, and you know, I remember when this was teased, you or maybe somebody else was like, "Oh, we're gonna get Wraith or something." I was like, "Oh, that's an established character, I guess, that I knew nothing about." But being that Yuri was like this positive force in the first game that like wanted to help Peter, I've never really bought her downfall. Like even through the DLC of the last game, like her getting all shitty with Peter was just didn't feel right. It felt I don't know. It felt maybe a little too forced. I'm not sure, but so to come back to Yuri and see her, I don't know. I don't even remember what her motivation is, other than she just has to track down this guy, and it all felt kind of flat to me. As a character. Yeah,
I agree. It's like you said. I'm trying to remember in the DLC in the first game what really happened, but it's like it wasn't like something crazy because you didn't see her ever. You know, it was just a tease of what she was going to become.
I think she was mad at Hammerhead or somebody, and Peter wanted to just, you know, arrest them, and I think Yuri wanted to like fucking kill him or something. Something stupid where it's like, hey, just stop being a bitch for a second, man. Just relax.
So you team up with her to track down what the Cult of the Flame.
Yeah.
Is that? Again. Yeah, so you team up with Yuri to kind of take down this cult, and it's not really what their motivation really is to blow up things. I'm trying to remember what their motivation was at the beginning. They used branding. They were definitely pretty gnarly as cults go. But
I honestly don't. Not a lot of the purpose and things stuck. The only thing that really stuck with me was the finale of this one.
Right.
Is the only thing.
Do we know his name before? I think she says his name, but
he does. Yeah, they do. I'll look it up. But
it's not the name of the character that we're used to. I don't think.
Who actually plays? Are we just going to say it right now? Who actually plays Carnage?
Yeah.
I don't know him. His actual name either. No. Just look up who Woody Harrelson plays. This guy is Cletus Cassidy.
It is. Cassidy, okay, then it is him. Yes.
That is him. Okay.
That is Carnage. The whole set of missions, which, you know, there's a couple of them, kind of lead up to this big set piece where you're trying to stop a train from derailing or crashing into all these explosives, just to learn that that's what they wanted the whole time, was the train to derail, because inside it was another symbiote. And that's where you find out that it is Cletus Cassidy, and he is going to be Carnage. Like, Carnage is going to be in the future of this franchise, because this is where kind of this story is left off. Wraith says she's going to go look into it. So we got one tease for the future of the franchise. It's interesting where this will come up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to. If honestly, let me just take a little sidebar here. I think one of the kind of things I'm learning as a weakness of the Spider-Man games is they spread themselves a little too thin, just with the amount of people that I'm supposed to care about and the amount of villains I'm supposed to care about. And I don't see them making Carnage. You know, he's not going to leap to the front and center, especially when they made Venom a main villain in this one. It would be silly to make Carnage then the main villain in 3. So I think he will definitely be kind of this, again, side mission-esque path that you have to go down in the 3rd game, but I don't think he'll be anything more than that.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, if they do a half step, I mean, he could be the story of a half step, too.
He could. I think there's a more likely half step that we'll talk about here in a second. But they could also, those things could be one and the same as well. I mean, that's a possibility.
True. So yeah, so we 100% expect Carnage will be in a sequel to this game.
Yeah.
You know,
I will say I do
be.
love getting. I love in anything when you kind of feel betrayed or double crossed, and like I remember when they're like, "Oh, we wanted that to happen." Like, you motherfuckers! Like, God damn it! You know, it was a good rug pulling out from underneath me.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely as far as conclusions goes, one of the standout side quests of the game. So
I would argue the biggest side quest probably.
Yeah, just by the ending for sure.
Yeah.
The next I have is the cultural museum quest, which involves Miles kind of hunting down a bunch of stolen musical instruments from a museum. The bad guy for this was obvious right from the start. Mm-hmm. This quest is just fine. I
got nothing.
It is cool. Like if you're a music fan, like there's a lot of history here. Including, you know, when the quest is completed, you can kind of walk around this museum and just see a bunch of, you know, I appreciate it, you know, for sure. But, you know, sometimes in video games, it's like, I'm just walking to the end. Where's my mom?
Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
I was just about to say, because like when you finally get to the museum and they're like, go walk around. I was like, nope, I'm going straight to the end. And then I think even Peter or somebody was just like, you should go see some other stuff. I'm like, nah, dude. Like, I'm not gonna go see some other stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like probably Genki, I think, or something.
Yeah,
but.
like no, I don't care about being culturally significant. I just want to go. I want to go swing around the city. That's why I bought this game.
And equally as pointless was the Brooklyn Visions set of side quests.
Yep.
Do you have anything to say about those?
Nope.
Okay, good. We'll move on. They're just, again, more of those quests that kind of make Miles part of his community, his school.
The only thing I'll say is I appreciate that they tried to make like a couple of side quest like groupings, right? Like, hey,
right.
These are all tied to this thing. There's 5 of them.
Yeah.
These are all tied. Like, I kind of like that. I just think they didn't land very well. You know, just not very.
I think it's hard to make them land when you're trying to rescue your school's mascot and you know, and get some aerial footage of your campus. You know, it's not like the most
that is true.
The most interesting of missions. So next up we have the Prowler stashes, which were your Uncle Aaron's tech that you had to find throughout the city. You had to kind of use like a detective vision basically to figure out where you should open panels and remove things or power up this or power up that. Did you have anything to say about those?
They were fine. You know, they're trying to showcase the DualSense a little bit because you need to pull the triggers in specific ways. Yeah. But every single one of them felt like very, very, very easy puzzles. Like it was obvious where you had to go. You open it up and you're like, all right, there's the thing, I guess. And so again, no, not the best side content in my opinion, but it was fine.
Sure. Next, we have the Emily May Foundation experiments. This includes riding a bike, which we had just brought up a few times. Drone killing bees. What were some? Putting up the air things, the balloon like things that floated in the air.
Yep.
Kind of very similar to the similar like quest in the first game. The only kind of fun thing is that they are very varied. You know, you're not kind of every mission seems to have you be doing something else, which I appreciated. You never knew what you were going to get into. Yeah. Oh yeah, and including the plant mini game. We can't forget about the.
The little
match the plants. Yeah, match the plants to create new plant strains. Any thoughts on these? They're a fun diversion.
I'll probably, I'll disagree a little bit. I think these are probably my least favorite missions in the game.
Ooh.
There was a couple points where I was doing those dumb like I gotta shoot the bugs, and I'm like searching around, and I just can't find one, and the time is just running out, and I just can't find it. It's like, this is stupid. Like, it's just, there's no there's no challenge, there's no direction. It's just, hey, go find the 12 purple glowy orbs, and it's like, okay, like I guess. So I really hated the bug parts of it. Maybe putting the weather balloons up in the air was okay, because I think I did those pretty early on in the game. So like just getting to play with the wingsuit in a different way was pretty fun. But no, I thought those were a step back from the hairy, sciencey things that you did in Spider-Man PS4.
Okay. All right. Well, agree to disagree.
Sure.
Next up, we got the unidentified target drones. This is a Miles set of side quests in which you have to take down Kraven's bird-like drones that are flying throughout the city to find out who they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And this leads again to another big lead-in to whatever the next Spider-Man game is. It leads into a big villain, and that villain is Chameleon.
Yeah.
So, did you like these ones from just not even just the end point, the end payoff, but did you like doing the wingsuit stuff?
Yeah, no, these ones were cool. I mean, very similar to the pigeons, which I know we kind of just shat on a little bit, but you utilized the air tunnels or air currents a lot in them, so gave you a good sense of speed and all that good stuff. And I was genuinely kind of intrigued as to what was going on, because you kind of start to you catch one and it's like, oh, it's this person, like that's just a random person, why do we care about them? And then you catch a couple more and they're like, well, this person's been dead for 5 years,
right, and
this person's been dead for 10. What's going on?
Yeah,
and so
I had a good mystery.
Yeah, I genuinely was kind of like, I have no idea, let's find a couple more. So yeah, that one was pretty cool. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Again, a good payoff. And then we expect to see Chameleon in a future Spider-Man game, who is also Kraven's brother, we find out in the game too.
Right.
So he is related to him. So that also could play a factor in the future of the franchise. I'll just kind of group these ones together. It's Symbiote Nest, Hunter Blinds, Marco's Memories, and Photo Ops. Any thoughts on any of those in particular? Marco's Memories is by far the worst side quest in the game, John. You were wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're just it's less offensive to me, because it's just like, okay, there's one, kill the guys, move on.
It is combat, and the combat, and this is fun, and it's combat in the open city, which we've talked about, which is fun.
Exactly. I'm going to want to fight guys as opposed to shoot little bees, Nick. I mean, I don't understand why we're even arguing which one's worse than the other at this point, but that's fair. I respect your opinion, but...
it was just always picking up the rock, and whatever, the Sandman's voice is just so monotone and annoying. It's just like, oh my God.
Well, and on the flip side of how I was kind of intrigued with the unidentified targets, this one I was my eyes glossed over every time. I'm like, I don't care what like Marco, like these were such small little segments of a story that like, and the entire time I'm like, I don't care. You're not telling me anything. You're just going, I'm a sad Sandman. I need my daughter. And it's like, all right, man.
And then you just somehow, out of all those stones, create a statue of him, and you give that to his daughter. Like, it's like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it was a little half baked, but
yeah,
but like you said, I enjoyed the combat enough in this game that like I'm like, okay, cool, I can fight some guys. Especially there was a couple of them. Like there's one of note where you fight them on top of like a water fountain, and you could just like pull all the sand people in there, and it just kind of made me chuckle a little bit.
Thank you for bringing that up. That is awesome. That is like one of those things where they're like, I bet if the players can think of this, like if you can use that web gadget that pulls them all in, and you do that over the water, they're all dead. And I'm glad you brought that up. That was the really cool moment that I was like, can I do this? Oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's great.
Get fucked, sand.
Yeah. Yeah. But any of the other ones, the Symbiote Nest, the Hunter Blinds, which are just kind of a repurpose of Spider-Man 1 bases.
Yep. I like Hunter Blinds. I love bases. It's fun to sneak around. The addition of the self-imposed web lines is really fun and made those a little extra. I did not enjoy the Symbiote Nests. I never liked being timed on things. So with these ones, you have to put a bomb on these little things and basically just fight them for 2 minutes and ensure that they're not going to destroy the thing, and then eventually you have two of them, and it's like, fuck this, man. Like it just, those ones kind of sucked, if I'm being honest.
Yep, I agree with you on that. And then Photo Op is just a funner way to do, like, because in the first game you had to take the picture of all those landmarks. That this was a little bit funner because there was at least some interaction with, kind of funny's Greg Miller wasn't in one of them.
Yeah.
But they're okay.
When you take pictures, Nick, do you care at all about, like, do you line it up? Do you make it look okay?
No. When the second that thing's green, that picture's flying.
I almost purposefully try and take the worst picture I can, just because then it's funny to me when he goes, "Oh yeah, he's gonna like that one," and it's like,
poor Robbie.
No, he's not. He's gonna hate it.
You really fucked over Robbie Robertson.
Yeah, but hey, he every time Robbie came on the horn, he's like, "Hey, great job. This is this and the heartbeat of New York City." Oh, it's like, all right, man, we get it. You love New York. Ugh.
Yeah,
but
and so let's move on to the next one, which was probably one of my highest intrigue. As far as I was more intrigued on this one than anything else because I was like, what is the payoff? Because this goes into my prediction for the year. The tie-in to the Spider-Verse, and that is the Spider-Bot collectible, which were great. Every one of them was great.
Yep. Yep. All had their own little personalities, their own little look. That was fun. And like you said, getting to the end of it and having the portal open up and seeing, I don't know who Miguel's assistant's name is. I can't remember. I think it's Spider Bite, I want to say. And seeing somebody there.
It's the bartender, and her name starts with a D. I forget.
Oh, it's the bartender. Okay, it's not Spider Bite. That's fine. But yeah, like just knowing that now is kind of in place in this universe was exciting, and it was fun to find those things, especially since there was a little bit of an extra challenge to it where they only showed up on your mini map. They didn't show up, and they obviously pulsed in the world themselves, but just made it a little extra fun when you kind of came across when you're like, oh, let me go grab you. So.
Yeah, and then again, the you get to the conclusion, and it's the Spider-Verse portal. That's right. A great tie-in, and then the character in it is like out of PlayStation 1, which I thought was really interesting. Like she was like a PlayStation 1 character, like that same kind of like you think like Lara Croft from the original Tomb Raider look. Delilah, I think that was her name.
Okay, yeah. That's actually, I think, right.
And this was, and again, I'll referencing that Kind of Funny interview with Brian Intihar. This was with the directors of Across the Spider-Verse. They wanted that character in the movie. They cut her out, and so when they were talking with Brian Intihar, he said, "Well, can we put this in our game?" And they said, "Yeah, that works." So it was kind of a nice little nod to the Spider-Verse as a whole. But going back to my prediction, and we can talk about it now, is that this game is not using the Spider-Verse going forward. We'll kind of get into those specifics later. But are you bummed about that? Are you happy that Insomniac's going to trailblaze their own path with Spider-Man and do their own thing outside of the Spider-Verse?
I don't know, man. I love those movies so much.
Yep.
That it's hard for me to say that I don't want to stay in that world. I don't know. I mean, I might disagree with you a little bit. I don't know if it guarantees that it won't be included in the third game. But, if anything, maybe relegated to a little side quest type of deal. But
I don't think they're going to do it. I think the teases in this game are to do their own thing and not the Spider-Verse outside as far as like a main quest.
I have one main question that we'll get to when we get to the future of the franchise that kind of leads me to think that it's possible but unlikely. We'll get there here in a second.
Okay, but this was a fun one.
Yep.
And then finally we have the Mysteriums quest, which involve Mysterio. I should look up who plays him because he was in Jedi's Fallen Survivor. He was in Horizon Forbidden West as well. Mysterio.
No Sheer Dalal. No Sheer Dalal.
Is that his name? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that guy's creds. He's in everything right now. He was a big character in Jedi Survivor. He was the first companion in Horizon Forbidden West. That Sky Tribe with the guy missing his arm.
Oh, dude, he's a fucking. Looks like he's Liu Kang.
He's an actor to look out for. He's really, really good. And I recognize his voice immediately, too, when you meet Quentin Beck.
He was Charles in Red Dead 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. This guy's awesome.
I'm sorry, did you say Phantom Liberty?
No. Who's he in Phantom Liberty?
It just says voice. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Huh.
But yeah, he seems like he's everywhere.
Yeah, he's becoming very prolific. Like, definitely an actor to look out for it because he's, like I said, he's doing a great job. What did you think of the Mysterium quest?
They were. I liked that when you entered them, it presented you with a different environment, a different world.
Yep.
Felt very dreamlike. Felt, cool. Especially there were some moments where Mysterio, was this huge hulking presence, and he had like the skull face on. He looked really cool, but fighting him himself kind of was stupid. And but I enjoy the fighting once again. I hate timers as always, so it was kind of a little annoying on that front. But at the same time, I don't think I ever struggled to beat him. So.
Yeah, and I don't think you didn't have to perfect them to complete the quest either, which I appreciated. Like, I didn't have to go back and any one of the ones I didn't get gold in to do them again. But
I think there was 2 I didn't bother getting 3 stars, and I was like, that's fine, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So. What did you think about the end payoff, which kind of was not what, I don't know if you were expecting it or not, but what did you think of the end payoff of this?
Remind me again, because it slipped my mind.
That it was his assistants that fucked everything up, not him. He was not the bad guy.
See, I don't know, it seems weird, I guess.
Yeah. It's kind of anticlimactic, really. It's like, he's actually, Quentin Beck is a good guy in this scenario.
Right, yeah, and and I'm not a superhero guy inherently, so I don't have thoughts and feelings about how these characters are supposed to be portrayed or are portrayed or anything like that, but yeah, it just felt like kind of a cop-out, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know, because Mysterio does have the abilities, right? He's got the power. So
it depends. I mean, there's different iterations of the character. Sometimes he is a magic user, and sometimes it's like Far From Home, where it's like special effects. So
it seemed like that he's a magic user in this one. Maybe not. I don't know, but I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that the assistants would be able to dupe everybody. But it's a video game, is what it is.
Yeah. All right, let's get into that juicy story so we can spoil all of that. I'm going to start with Roll Like We Used To, more bike riding. This game bike riding. Harry comes back really quick in this game, which is not surprising. We knew Harry was a big part, and this is where we're going to get to heal the world and all of that. But what did you think? Because we have a couple flashbacks in this game to the young Peter that we're used to, as far as the movies and all that. To him having his hair down, his geeky look. He doesn't look as good as he does with his glow up in this game. But do you have anything to say about these flashbacks?
No, I mean they're fine. They serve a purpose, but I don't think they added anything to the story. We get that you and Harry go way back. We get you guys are best friends. You're effectively brothers at this point. So it's always to see characters in a different light. Harry was much different. I felt like as a youth than he compared to how you spent most of the game with him. Peter, is Peter. So he's the same nerdy boy we always know that probably shouldn't be getting into trouble, or at least he feels uncomfortable with it. But Harry being kind of a punk renegade guy, but still somehow very gets beaten up by the popular and jock kids. It was fine. I don't begrudge it, but it didn't tickle me in any specific way.
I agree. And what do you think of Harry overall? Do you like the character?
I don't, and that's kind of maybe just real quick here to get into the bigger narrative structure of this game. As I've sat with it more, it's lessened for me a little bit, at least on the narrative side,
Sure.
Because Harry, it all seems very trite. It's we see exactly where this story is going to go. They're not taking very many risks.
No.
I was kind of hoping for a bigger twist towards the end where maybe it's not Harry that's Venom, because we got all the marketing, right, where it's Venom saying we will heal the world, and then you hearing Harry say, it's well, obviously that's the same person then.
Right.
And so I was kind of hoping that the story didn't progress from hey, it's Harry, to now Harry's mad, now Harry's Venom, and that's what we got.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's the same thing with Batman Arkham Knight when they were hyping up the Arkham Knight. Oh, he's this new character. He's this new character. And it's like, please, and I was like, please don't just be Jason Todd. Like, don't be the same fucking character that it always is. And of course it was. And same here. It's like we know how it's gonna play out from what we know before we even launched the game, and it hits those story beats exactly. You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm having a fun time, but come on, surprise me.
Exactly. And like, because I think they could have, maybe went a couple different ways with it. You'd have to change around a lot of things, but like I thought possibly like maybe Venom somehow gets the symbiote attached to him, and that's why he's so fucking big. Or maybe Peter.
Who? Oh, Craven, you meant.
Craven, yeah. Sorry, did I say Venom?
Yeah,
Sorry,
you did.
Craven. Or maybe Peter for having the symbiote suit on for too long turns into that. It's like, it just so Harry as a character as a whole just felt very mechanical. He just like progressed the plot along. It is what it is, and you got some badass Venom moments out of it, but no, I think Harry was kind of he was okay.
Okay, so let's move on to Not on My Watch, and I'm kind of bummed about this one prediction that we didn't have. Is that like how integral Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative, was going to be on the story? In this mission, you're doing a prisoner transport of Mr. Negative and Scorpion, and you're kind of just escort mission of a giant prison ship, and then when that moment where Miles is freaking out about seeing Lee, I was like, fuck, why didn't we think about this? Like, of course this is going to be a big plot moment. This is huge to this story. Like, he killed Jefferson Davis, Miles' dad. Like, fuck, how did we miss this?
I think it's just something that we all instinctively do when you get sequels to things. You just expect bigger, better, newer. And so your brain is not inherently going like, oh, well, they're going to bring back villains we've already seen. Like, It's just like you're not thinking in that way. So yeah, I wouldn't have counted on it leading into it, but yeah, afterwards makes perfect sense. Of course, Miles is, he's not going to get over the death of his dad very quickly, I don't think. So, it makes sense, but in a very, very Spider-Man-esque way, I love that they included that story because it was cool to see Miles struggle with it so hard, to really wrapped up in his emotions of like, I want to kill this man, but I can't because I know I can't. Then to basically turn him around into an ally, which, I think Peter even had a line in the game of like, oh, you converted your greatest or arch nemesis into an ally. Like, I've never even done that, or something something along those lines. So it felt good. Like, it felt like a good bow on that little arc.
Well, that scene when the raft is sinking after Craven's men's attacks and Miles is just sitting there letting Lee's cell drown in the water, you're like, oh fuck. Yeah. Oh my god.
That's not very Spider-Man of you.
Yeah, exactly. But this mission again was just overall just great. Not even the story moments with Miles hallucinating from Scorpion's venom, but also the end part with the giant boat propeller on the dock. This was again like a follow up to that amazing Sandman fight at the beginning of the game. Like, this was like, again, 3 or 4 missions in, and you're like, oh shit! Like, what else am I going to be doing in this game? Like, this is insane. This is crazy. Yeah.
They never let up on the gas.
No, I don't think they did ever. And we're going to skip a few missions, but the next one I wanted to bring up was make your own choices. And this is my favorite mission in the game, John. Do you know what mission this is?
No.
This is where Miles has to go rescue Black Cat.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And this mission starts very innocuous. It's like you're just like you're actually kind of Batman. You're kind of like looking at all these crime scenes. But then you find out that Craven's men have followed Black Cat to the Sanctum Sanctorum, the house of Doctor Strange. They're all surrounding it, and after you take them all out, Black Cat comes out with this wand that can create portals. And what happens next is this fantastic chase through the city where she's creating portals. You're traveling through portals. You're going to Antarctica. You're doing all these crazy things. She's launching cars at you through these portals, and then leads into this giant fight where you're fighting all these bad guys, and she's leaping in and out of portals. She's bringing portals so you can pull stuff in to take out enemies. John, this mission's just great, and I know it's just like them tapping into Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, where portals were a big part of that. But I was just, again, like when I started this game and that swing song came on and we're going towards Salmon and I'm just grinning ear to ear. Like this whole mission, I was just grinning ear to ear. I'm like, I'm just having so much fun. Like this is awesome. This is what a PlayStation 5 game is.
Yeah, man.
Like you can't do this on any other platform right now. So
yep. Yeah, man. The element of surprise is always great, and I remember, early on when this game came out, my son was way far ahead of me when it came to the narrative, just because I obviously let him play first, not because I'm a good dad, right? And I remember being in the kitchen doing the dishes, and him just going, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "What the fuck just happened?" I went down there because I couldn't help myself, and he's like, "Dude," he's like, "Dad, Miles just went to the North Pole or something." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so it was cool. Once I went through that mission, I was like, "Oh, this must have been what he was mentioning." And just showing off the gloriousness of the PS5 SSD. It was I wish there was maybe a little more of that stuff, but to make it make sense narratively, you can't really just keep portals popping up all over the place. So makes sense.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
And Black Cat is a fun character too, because she's she's always teasing the Spider-Man, and I thought it was nice to have her interact with Miles.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if I was Peter, I'd probably be her over Aunt Mary Jane, that's for sure.
Yeah, her costume is a bit ridiculous, but that's superheroes for you.
And she seems cool. She's like, just wants to go have fun, just wants to kind of explore the world, steal some stuff, go have fun.
Yeah. And then we also get the tease, because you have the wand at the end of this mission, and the wand disappears, and you get a note from Wong. And again, this comes out through this game, is like, what does Insomniac have license to? Like,
right.
We know, like, when you license a Marvel property, you don't get the whole kit and caboodle. You can't just bring in whoever you want. You work with them. You get license to specific characters. And the Spider-Man universe itself is pretty broad. There's a lot of heroes. There's a lot of villains. You can work with a lot. But every time they do this, I'm like, can Thor just show up in one of these missions? Can we just have Thor just come down and be like, "Hey, Peter, I'm helping you with this one mission," and then it's like over and he leaves? Like, I'm always like wondering.
I don't. It is a good question, because I mean, Spider-Man is owned by Sony. He's the one character in the MCU that is, and so when I think about his movies, right? I mean, Doctor Strange was like the main character or main side MCU character in No Way Home. So maybe there is some sort of weird they bought the rights to Doctor Strange for like the next 5 years or something, and they just used him just because they had him. I'm not sure either.
Right.
But I don't know.
Because you have the Avengers Tower. You have the Wakanda Embassy. Yep. You have the Wakanda suit for Miles later. And we know they have the X-Men license because they're making a Wolverine game. So it's just like, what do they have license to? And I think at this point was probably like, man, I don't know what to expect later in this game. Like, because if this is in here, this mission itself is like anything can really happen. But unfortunately, it's
video games are so bigger than anything. Bigger release of a video game is bigger than any movie, any TV show. So, and Marvel, while still on top of Money Mountain, they have been on a downswing for the past 2 years maybe, and so they'd be insane to like not want to just be in there as much as possible. If like Insomniac's like, hey, we can throw some stuff in, like if you're cool with it, they'd be like, yeah, do it. And like, of course,
right.
So
everyone's making a Marvel game right now, so
right.
And Insomniac has the fortune of being ahead of the game. They're probably good luck trying to outsell Spider-Man right now.
Yeah, they are the game right now.
You're right, yeah. All right, and the next mission I wanted to highlight was a second chance, which had Harry, MJ, and Peter walking through Coney Island, which is an amusement park, and again, like, did you ride all the rides? Did you do all the mini games you could do?
Yeah, I think I did.
Did you earn your cowboy hat?
Yeah, I did. Yep. Yeah, no, because Levi got real mad at me. He's like, "Where did you get that?" And I'm like, "I did the things." He's like, "Oh, well, I didn't do the thing." I was like, "Well, you should do the things, buddy. Let it be a lesson." Sorry, bud.
Yeah. And then this mission, of course, it can't be a Spider-Man mission with going to hell, because Hammerhead or Tombstone, not Hammerhead, Tombstone is kind of rehabilitating his life, and he's just a normal go-kart mechanic, runs the go-kart place at Coney Island. Craven's men come there to capture them. because again, their stick is to capture all the villains in Heroes. And so that kind of turns into a big thing. But kind of the big story plot that was a little divergent that I was surprised about is that Harry is with the symbiote and not being Venom, is a hero himself.
Yeah.
He becomes kind of a deputized Spider-Man. His suit kind of looks like Spider-Man.
Yeah, that kind of annoyed me, honestly.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know. I just, you can chalk it down to it's the symbiote, but like, why is Harry able to flip and do crazy karate and fight and all that stuff right now? I mean, I get you have the symbiote on. That should increase your strength, allow you to, shoot your arm out to grab a thing and swing, but like, I don't know. That kind of stuff always bothers me with any type of comic book thing, and that's just me being an extra cynical, old man. But it's the same issue I have with Thanos, just being as strong as he is. Just like I feel like you shouldn't be able to beat Thor or even Kraven. Like you're just a dude. Why can you beat up everybody? It just doesn't make sense to me.
I think you're right to be a little critical of how fast he's able to do everything he's doing. Like you said, it's not like just like a little thing. He's basically a superhero at this point. And
yeah, he's keeping up with Peter. What?
Yeah, I didn't mention the following mission where you actually have to rescue Tombstone from like that underground like factory. But that whole mission too, the same thing is like, it seems a little absurd to have Harry this level of superhero so fast.
Yeah, I was ready for when Harry was not like part of the Spidey team again. I was just like, all right, man, also because I wanted, I think, the plot to move along, and I knew that at some point, this is not going to end well at some point.
All right, so let's move on to Good Men. And John, you mentioned how spread out the Spider-Man universe is. Mm-hmm. Well, at least Good Men, in which MJ infiltrates a zoo to try and rescue Kirk Connors. We learned a grim fate for a lot of these superheroes. I did mention the mission where you see Scorpion visibly get killed. But in here, we know Scorpion's dead, but we also learned Vulture's gone, Shocker's gone. Who else is gone? Rhino's gone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's it. There's 4 of them. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But one thing to condense the universe is just to get rid of the other villains and kind of establish Kraven as a bigger threat than you might have thought. Like, I know you kind of don't believe him to be as big a bad as he's portrayed throughout the story, but at least this kind of planted the seeds that you might be like, oh shit. Like, he just took out more than half of the Sinister Six from the last game.
Yeah, I mean, well, the side that I do get a little bit more believable with is that, like, the amount of tech that guy has at his disposal is ridiculous. So, the camouflage, the weaponry, the helicopters and all that stuff. So it makes sense on that scheme. But it's just like, when you then start to dissect it on a larger level, it's like, where did you get all this money? How did you guys set up in the city? How did you recruit these people? It just...
Right.
I don't know. It's one of those things that I understand. They'll probably just be like, just suspend your disbelief or suspend your belief. It's like, sure. You have to do that when you watch most things. Like, hey, why are these animals talking in Charlotte's Web? It's like, it's because it's a fucking story. Who cares? But I don't know. Just one of those things.
And then again, we want to highlight how that MJ plays great. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. Her moments. They give her a stun gun. She can handle herself, so it's not the hardest part of the game anymore. And
they were quick too. I feel like and it didn't linger. So I was okay with those for sure.
But this is also the mission in which Kraven stabs Peter, and Peter is dying, and he gets the symbiote suit, which is, again, we talked about this on the regular show, but like when you want like a power fantasy, when you're in the symbiote suit and you're in that like symbiote rage mode, which is just like the Kratos rage mode, where you're able to just pummel whoever gets in your way. It feels really good.
It does, yeah. It makes you not want to take off that suit for sure.
No.
But that was, that moment was, what I was kind of talking about when I was like, I want to be surprised. I want to have these moments that stick with me. And Kraven stabbing Peter and like him being like, oh, is he gonna die? Like, and I didn't think he would because I knew the symbiote and like we knew all that stuff.
Right.
But it was a pretty eyes glued to the screen, edge of my seat kind of moment.
Yeah, and the symbiote suit's great. Like,
For sure.
hands down. Like, so fantastic. All right, we'll move on to It Chose You. And this is where we track down the lizard.
I choose you, Pikachu.
This is where you track down the lizard as Peter, leading to arguably, I think, the best fight in the game, the best boss fight. And I meant to talk about this with when we were talking about the flame and you had to fight Wraith. Mm-hmm. Do the bosses of these games have too many phases?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like, Venom at the end of the game has 4 phases, and
Yep.
that's fine, I think, because it's a multi-layered fight, right? You're fighting as Miles, then you're fighting as Peter, you're fighting in this location, he sprouts wings, he flies, so that one makes a little more sense than something like, Lizard has 3 phases.
And I think Lizard's in the same boat because it's like you fight him and then you chase him down and then you fight him again. He's also good at that, but I think like when you talk about like the Wraith fight or we'll get into the Scream fight later, like when they have multiple phases, but the actual gameplay isn't changing really.
Right.
It's kind of like, okay, can we just move on?
Multiple phases for set piece reasons, okay. Multiple phases for individual fight, not good.
No, not at all. But the Lizard fight still is my favorite fight of the game. I think it's a lot of these fights that kind of just like break out into the city and they have multiple phases. I'm all for. I think that's what they do best here.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Moving on, we have. And if I skip one of your missions, just yell at me, John.
Okay.
I don't know but the next mission I have is anything can be broken. This is kind of the culmination of evil Peter. Peter fights Craven, and then you get Miles versus Peter. What do you think? What did you think about particularly the Miles versus Peter fight?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I kind of thought that was going to happen at some point. Just knowing the trajectory of the release, trailers that Insomniac showed and Sony showed and all that kind of stuff. It made sense that at some point Peter's not going to just shake this thing by himself.
Right.
So how's he going to shake it? Well, Miles. I kind of expected that to come, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying about the story being a little bit trite. But, but it was still like anytime, it's like when... spoilers for The Last of Us 2, but it's like when you're playing as Abby and all of a sudden you're fighting against Ellie and you're like, what the fuck? Like, this just feels crazy. Like, I don't want to shoot Ellie, but like, you kind of do it. And in this moment too, I was like, well, I'm doing this for you, Peter. I got to get this thing off of you. So it didn't feel too bad, but it was cool. I was down with it. Yeah,
it was fine. And I did miss I did miss one mission, and that was the No Escape, and that was the Mr. Negative versus Miles Morales fight. Did you have anything to say on that? I thought the Mr. Negative fight was okay, like his little dream world.
Yeah, it felt very similar to the first one. So not really, nothing to say.
Okay, all right, good. Other than again, Miles forgives Mr. Negative, which is great, as John pointed out. Like he converts his arch nemesis. So that's great.
And then they make out. It's so cool.
And then. Don't be scared is the next mission, and this is where, and we didn't forget to mention, what did you think of the symbiote was the reason Kirk Connors lost his arm? We forgot, kind of glanced over that. I thought that was a cool little, to bring this story kind of more integrated.
Sure. That's I think a thing that appeals to comic book people. For me, I was just like, okay, like it didn't. It didn't really impact me. Just because, again, I don't think of Spider-Man. When I think of the Spider-Man story, it's the story that's in front of me. It's not like this big universe that has 50 years of comic books and things, which I know some people, think of it a little more like that. But sure. I didn't know what Connor's losing his arm original reason was. So I
don't either.
Okay. So I was like, well, maybe that's fair. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, just again, like I said, it further connects kind of the overall story here. But again, Peter goes to bring the suit or the symbiote, which Miles helps separate from him, to Dr. Connors. But Harry, needing that suit to live, gets in a tussle with Spider-Man, breaks open the canister, and we get Venom.
There
we
he
get
is.
a playable Venom. I get 0.3 points on my prediction.
Yeah, there it is.
That Venom is playable. John, what did you think of playing a very, very large Venom character?
Yeah, well, you're talking about power fantasies, man. I mean, there isn't anything bigger than that. I mean, on one hand, super duper cool. Everybody loves Venom. Venom is like one of the most badass characters in all of fiction. On the other hand, I kind of, I thought it was the perfect length. It was probably like 10 to 15 minutes playing as him, and that was enough because your moveset is much more limited. It's very tanky. It's like in any game where you kind of have like some sort of super form and then you get into it and it's just like heavy attack, light attack, light attack, light attack, heavy attack, heavy attack. And that's fine for what it is. But it was super cool. I'm glad they did it. And, that way, because since we're not going to be getting a Venom spinoff with all likelihood, got that out of the way, get to play as him, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think when we had his size and he was so big, I was like, oh, this is just one moment. This is not, I'm not going to be swinging around the city as Venom.
No.
Like, this is it. But, which is fine. Like you said, it was a great moment. It led to a boss fight with Kraven. It ended with Venom biting Kraven's face off.
Oh, more than his face. I think it was his whole head, buddy.
yeah, his whole head.
Yeah.
And just, kind of put Kraven to rest. And we kind of move into a prediction we made when we were in our Before New York podcast, where we briefly mentioned, like, will there be multiple symbiotes? Like, will there be other characters? And like I said in that podcast, typically there's more than one symbiote, but in this universe, Venom can create as many symbiotes as he wants as long as he touches them, and that kind of leads us into our endgame bad guys, which are just symbiotes all over the city. And as John mentioned, they aren't too fun to clean up, that's for sure. But
yeah,
it is what it is. I
wasn't really expecting end of the world scenario with this one. I didn't think Venom had that ability. Like,
right.
So to get to the level of direness that it got to was one of the more unexpected things, I suppose. When you finally see New York City and it's just covered in Venom goo, and you're like, oh god,
yeah,
oh man, we're fucked.
And this leads to This Isn't You, which is a great overall mission. Which you always like the superhero comes home to find the villain in his house talking to his love interest, and it's not Venom, it's just Harry. And it was a good scene. I really did actually enjoy the tenseness of this scene, and I definitely loved where it led to. Like, as we talked about, like the story being kind of a little bit predictable. MJ becoming the symbiote Scream was not one of them, Yeah,
this was my most surprising moment in the game, I think. Unfortunately, Peter getting stabbed by Kraven was spoiled to me by my son. No big deal, is what it is.
Yep.
But this one wasn't, and because I think the camera is really well done, where Harry's standing up, a table has been flipped over, that MJ is behind the table, like unconscious on the ground or something, and you see Venom's like arm stick to her or something, like, what are you doing? And then when you see her kind of rise above the table as Scream, you're like, oh fuck, because you got the added I don't know what you want to say, but a scenario where that's Peter's fucking, future wife. So it's not just like a person. It's like, oh god, this is super personal now, and I think Scream just kind of looks kind of cool, ridiculous hair, kind of just cool looking, scary character.
Yeah, and it was a fun boss fight. It was fun to have, like, we're both in relationships. We know, like, the ups and downs of being in a relationship with someone, being around them 24/7, and to kind of have, all the things that have kind of been building up. At the beginning of this game, we know Peter's broke. He has no money.
There's $4 million in debt or something because of Aunt May's house, something crazy.
And that there was a lot of strain because MJ was obsessed with getting a article on the front page of the Daily Bugle and all that stuff, and so their relationship was strained, but they weren't talking about it. But her becoming this evil symbiote let all of that kind of like bottled up anger come out during the fight. And even though I wish the fight didn't have multiple phases, I related to a scenario where, like, it's like, oh god, just everything's coming out, and we're like, and Peter's just trying to plead with her that we're going to work this all out, but of course, she's influenced by the symbiote. just a great moment overall.
The one time it's okay to abuse your spouse.
Yeah. When you want to get a symbiote off of her.
Yep. That's all. That's the only time it's allowed.
But we all know that everything goes well there. And then the next mission I wanted to talk about, and something I wasn't really aware of, and that was Set Things Right, where Lee and Miles save Peter. This is where we get the anti-venom. This is kind of the cheat code that you get to use the symbiote powers going forward in the game.
Thank you.
Yeah. So something me and John, I would have never predicted this. I was never aware that this version of Peter existed. But obviously, Peter being able to use the symbiote to, cure people and enhance his fighting capabilities against the symbiotes is, it works. Lets you use that skill tree.
Yeah. No, I again, I don't know if that was an established thing in the Spider-Man lore or not, but yeah. Give me those ooey gooey abilities.
Yeah, and it also presses on the kind of the theme is like heal the world, but a lot of it was just a lot of these characters healing themselves, dealing with the traumas of the previous game. As we saw Miles with Lee, and Miles and Lee helping Peter overcome the death of Aunt May. As we saw with Dragon's Breath, like he either could cure Aunt May or Devil's Breath. Yep. Could either cure Aunt May or save the rest of everyone else, create a cure, and having to finally deal with that. I thought was really good. So
very insightful, Nick. Very insightful.
Yes, thank you. And then this leads to Together. This is the big final boss fight with Venom. What did you think of this? This was very frustrating at first for me.
The fight?
Yes.
Which part? Like when you have to bounce around between the 3 different platforms?
Yeah, not because of that, but because if you don't either parry, a lot of the times in this game, whether you should parry or dodge can be confusing.
Hard. Yeah.
And in this very case, if you screw up with this final boss fight, he takes you to fucking town. Yeah. Like he takes you to Pound Town. He beats the shit out of you.
And that boy thick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I remember I had to kind of restart this fight a few times before I finally got like in the rhythm of like the cadence of the fight itself. But I just remember at the very beginning, me like, what the fuck, man? This guy's just like, he's killing me. Like, yeah. And all I'm doing is making one mistake. Like I'm L1 or O. I don't know which one, but I picked the wrong one, and he's making me eat it. But what did you think of the fight?
It was. I mean, this part of it was fine. I know exactly what you mean with the L1 circle confusion thing. I think probably my Souls skills helped me a little bit with that one.
Sure.
So it wasn't too bad on a skill level, but I thought that the moment when Venom sprouted wings was super cool. Didn't think that was gonna happen. And especially the way he's like kind of carrying Peter just by the head, like he's just holding his head like limp and lifeless. I thought was really cool, and then kind of, leading into the second part of the fight, which is, basically Miles versus Venom. I really dug because I view Miles as my favorite. He's just my favorite Spider-Man in everything. Like I really, really dig the Miles character.
I agree.
And so for him to be like kind of the savior of the whole thing felt, it felt like what I wanted. It felt good, and. So yeah, I think it was a pretty cool fight. And, the way that you kind of end it in the lab that Harry and Peter, wanted to start together with the what do they call that thing? The electron collider, particle collider, or whatever. Yeah. Particle accelerator. It was what I would want out of a final fight, I think.
Yeah. Did you like it more than the Doc Ock fight in Spider-Man 1?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I think Venom is a cooler character. But I think the fight itself and just the location being on the top of that building was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So, but I think they also similarly, had those really powerful emotional moments at the end of both of those fights that, were very similar to one another, whether it's, Peter coming to terms with that Doc is gone and, it is what it is, or, that he had to effectively save Harry by killing Harry in a way, even though Harry's not dead, but, he's, I don't know, in a coma, I guess, by the end of this game. And so, similar payoffs and made me feel for the characters, made me care, and I usually don't care about superhero stories, so good. Yeah,
I think it was a fitting end, and again, like I said, and we'll kind of get into this when we talk about the future of the franchise. We eventually assume like the torch will be passed to Miles, like just as a overall story, but having Miles be the one to save Harry, I think was more of a sign of that happening. Like he's the better Spider-Man in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, well, and I mean, they pretty much say that at the end of the game, right? When, the very, very end, and one of my favorite scenes in the game, is Peter's been thinking about stopping this for a while now, right? But obviously, how do you tell that to Miles? How do you tell the person that you've been training and teaching and you've formed this bond with it, like, hey, I'm going to not do this anymore? And so, seeing the struggle of Peter try to get it out, stuttering over his words, and then Miles basically cutting him off and just being like, I got this. So it's just like, yeah, you fucking do. We got this. Yeah, you do, Miles. Go get him, kid. And so, really, really nice wrap up there, too.
Yeah. And so we move in kind of the end game here. We see Norman Osborn not happy with his son being in a coma, asking to get the G serum going. He will be Green Goblin for sure in Spider-Man 3, without a doubt. And including a scene where he goes to see Dr. Octavius, because he wants to know the identity of Spider-Man. He is blaming him for his son's current condition, and which
is dumb.
Which, if you remember from Spider-Man 1, Doc Ock and Norman did not get along at all. So Doc Ock will not do that, but he is preparing to write his final chapter, and I believe that is, of course, referring to Spider-Man 3 being the final chapter of this story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did a little bit of research. Nick, did you know that there's 2 Spider-Man stories called The Final Chapter? Did you know this?
No.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is going to be the case or not, but apparently, there's 2 different stories, and one of the final chapters has I guess one of the most famous moments in Spider-Man history, which is where he's trapped under a crazy amount of rubble and has to use all of his strength to break free and all that good stuff. And then the other final chapter story is where Spider-Man clashes with the Green Goblin, and Osborn initiates a ritual known as the Gathering of the Five that he believes will grant him incredible power. So I'm wondering if that is an actual verbatim, final chapter tease, or if that's just, them using that phrase, I guess.
It's hard to say because, like I said, we both think the torch should be passed to Miles, but we are talking right now about 2 villains
it won't be.
very much tied to Spider-Man. So it's hard to say that Peter Parker will definitely be in Spider-Man 3. And that Green Goblin will be probably the primary antagonist of that game.
Yeah, I think Spider-Man 2 will start out. You're Miles. You're, and then Peter's gonna get roped back in. It'll just be one of those classic and then they pulled me back in. It'll be one of those. So,
what do you think Doc Ock's involvement would be? Do you think he might be a good guy?
No, I don't think so. I don't know, and this is where my lack of superhero just knowledge really catches up with me.
But to be honest, I don't think you need that knowledge. I don't think I think the story, they're creating their own story. There's no Eddie Brock Venom. There's only Harry Osborn Venom. That's a first for this, right?
True.
So I don't think you need to know. I would just your knowledge of the first game, your knowledge of the second game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Doc Ock becomes a good guy. I mean, dude, he's in prison, writing a fucking Hitler manifesto right now. He's, he's pissed off, and I don't see anything changing that. I mean, because I can't remember, but it's not like the Doc Ock from the movies where he just has this chip that got fried.
No.
Where if you take the chip off, he's fine. He's fundamentally fucked, and so no.
But it's the enemy of my enemy, my friend, right? who does he hate more? Does he hate Norman Osborn more?
Yeah.
Or does he hate Peter Parker more?
I mean, yeah, there could definitely be a scenario where like Green Goblin has Peter, he's gonna give him a death blow, and Norman or Doc Ock intervenes, but I don't think it wouldn't be on Peter's behalf. It would be on either you're not going to be the one to kill him, I'm going to be the one to kill him, because Norman, you've always had you've gotten the better of me my entire life. You're not going to get the better of me here. Or it's just like, no, I really fucking hate you, Norman. I'm going to kill you instead. I don't really give a shit about Peter right now, or whatever the case. But this kind of goes back to like being a little trite again. It's like I feel like that's expected. Like I don't know.
No, you predicted this exact amount when we talked in the Before New York podcast. You predicted everything we were talking about. The whole turn for Norman because of Peter and Harry.
Yeah.
You predicted that 1-to-1.
Yep.
Like that. Yeah. So it's not like.
Yeah. So it's. I don't know, and maybe that's why they include so many villains, just to like freshen it up, to like keep it at least a little bit different, to allow you to see some new things while we're going over this bigger normal story. But I'm not sure how they're gonna play those two with the Spider-Men.
Okay. Yeah, I don't either, but obviously they're both going to be in it. Brian Intihar loves Doc Ock. It's his favorite character.
Sure.
He said he had this scene planned all the way back in Spider-Man 1, so expect, definitely Doc Ock, which is great. The character's great, so, I'm all for more Doc Ock. But, as you mentioned, Spider-Man is retiring. MJ has a podcast. But what's up with Peter or Miles? And we get an end credit scene where Miles meets his mom's current love interest, and that he has a daughter, and her daughter's name is Cindy. And of course, I'm sure like myself, John, you were like, what?
Yeah, who's that?
Who is Cindy Moon? What is the importance of her? And, Spider-Man fans obviously would know, but this character is known as Silk. She is another spider character in which she can create her own webs, kind of like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but I know nothing about her beyond that. But though in the past she has been kind of linked to Peter Parker as well. So what do you think? What do you think about a new Spider-Woman? That's not Spider-Woman because that's another character. But what do you think of Silk either being most likely the half-step?
Yep.
Because I don't see how they could do the character in a Spider-Man 3 and cover the other things we just talked about. Another origin story.
Yep. No, I think this is the half step that we will be getting. With the God of War rumors of them getting one, it just makes more sense that how expensive and how long games take that we're going to see more of those. So I fully expect that half step to be her. And, I think she's going to basically effectively replace kind of Gwen Stacy or Spider-Gwen as the female version that helps the boys out, I guess.
Yeah, which I think is a good thing. Again, I think it is good that Insomniac is, again, doing their own path with Spider-Man, bringing in characters we're not familiar with. So, I'm excited to see this character because I know nothing about her.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So if there is a Spider-Man Silk, you're in. I know your son's in. Are you in?
Yeah, dude. Excuse me. Yeah, dude. Anything Insomniac makes, I'm in. They could make a game about a loaf of bread that you got to go save. A peanut butter and jelly character, and I'll play it. So yeah, I'm in. I'm absolutely in.
All right. So that's kind of it. Do you have any other thoughts about where this franchise is going from here?
No, so I wanted to touch a little bit, based on how I mentioned that it's possible there could be some Spider-Verse things, and just a couple reasons, right? Is first off, we got Black Cat's Portal 1. I know that those portals only link to in Earth areas, but who knows what the potentials could be there. I can see a scenario where Norman uses the G serum on him first because he wants to test it. He turns himself into Green Goblin. Harry ends up dying, and we got to figure out a way to, I think he's going to be obsessed with trying to bring his son back. So there could be some sort of, link there to pulling in multiversal people. But my main thing that I'm thinking of is
Harry Osborn's not done. Like we can talk about that briefly, but Harry Osborn will be back.
You think so? I mean, how do you know? Like, why are you so confident?
I don't. Because he's just in a coma. Like he's a piece on the board still. So like he's not dead. He could become Venom. He could become another Spider-Man villain. If there's the Hobgoblin too.
Maybe that, but
he's still a piece on the board. Harry will play a part in Spider-Man 3 for sure.
Okay. Well, either way, I think one of the things that I was thinking about is before Spider-Man 2 was revealed and announced, I remember one of the biggest questions that everybody kept asking was like, is it going to be more than Manhattan? And if so, how are they going to make that fun? And I think we're going to be asking that same exact question going into the third one. And I don't know if you can just rely on more boroughs at this point. So you have to figure out a way, in my opinion, to make a new playground, because by the third time we're swinging around New York, it's going to be great, but I think it's going to start wearing down. So
you think so? You think that
I do. I mean, unless if they really fundamentally change up the way that Peter and Spider-Man interacts, like you need to either make it more dense or just I don't know what you do, because like that is one thing about this game. It was a ton of fun, but like it was pretty empty with the grand scheme of how big that map is and how fast you're moving. Like there's not a ton of stuff in there. So I never felt like I was at a like the boroughs had much I'm not the boroughs, I'm sorry, the neighborhoods of Manhattan never had that much personality to them.
So what is your theory then? I know your theory in the past has been it'll have been another city.
Yeah. So either they're going to have to somehow incorporate another city, which maybe, or they have some sort of portal aspect to this where we're going to like a place like Mumbattan, right, which is the Indian version of New York City in Across the Spider-Verse, or we're going to Nuevo York 2099, which is where Miguel is from in that. So it's like I'm not saying that this is what I'm putting my money on. I'm just saying I could see them trying to incorporate some story where Norman is trying to go multiversal, because either, like my theory that maybe Harry's dead, he's got to pull somebody out. Like they have this portal wand that Black Cat's introduced again. They have to figure out a way to make that multiversal, but we know that Doctor Strange exists in this universe. We know that, we might need a different playground to play with. So I'm just saying that it's possible that they could play around with that too, because with the power of the PlayStation 5, dude, it could be some sort of overlay. It could be some sort of thing where you press a button or you go into the menu and like you come back out of the menu and like New York just looks different. Like I don't know.
So that's what I would have predicted had they gone a multiverse route. But again, I think, as we mentioned when we talked about the Spider Bots, is like I don't think they're going the multiverse for the main story. Like if anything, there'll be a side story, but I don't think there'll be any overarching main plot in this game that involves the world changing like that.
Yeah.
And I just have this feeling like it is going to be New York again. It'll be the same, it'll be great. They'll fill it with more stuff. There'll be more things to do. I'm sure Spider-Man 3 will be packed with things. Yeah. But I think we're going to get the same map. I don't see how we don't.
Well, I do defer to you. You are the comic book nerd. You nerd.
Well, I don't read Spider-Man comics, so don't even refer. I'm not an expert there. But again, like I said, I don't even think that matters. Just look at the games. Look at what we've done. It's always been said here.
But
there's no hints of characters not being here.
But you do know the comic book tropes a little bit better than I do.
Even in Miles Morales, when Peter went to Europe, and that's kind of led us to think that maybe that would happen. They brought it back to New York. Everything was in New York. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you could do it a third time. Maybe, and really it'd be a fourth time.
A fifth time probably.
True, exactly.
So it'll be another half step, but
that's true. And I have a question for you, Nick. If you had to, what year is Spider-Man 3 coming out?
If there is a half step, you think the half step would be 2 years again. So you're looking at 3 to 4 years from now. If we're lucky, if they use the same city,
and they got Wolverine.
Yeah, but they have different teams. I don't worry about that. Even I heard that the Miles Morales was a different team too. So, I would assume you would expect the half step in 2 years and maybe the next game in 3 years.
Okay. I was gonna put my money on it's gonna be PS5's swan song in 2028. That's gonna be my guess.
Oof. So,
Yeah,
so another 5 years, huh?
Well, we're already towards the end of this year. I mean, it's November, so like,
Right.
you know, I'm gonna guess 2028. That's my guess.
Yeah. But I think, like, again, if they use the same city, the benefit of that is hopefully a quicker development time. And I'm you know, ever since Cory Barlog said they didn't want to make God of War a trilogy is because just how long it takes. I'm like, yeah, I'm all for that. Like,
Yeah.
let's wrap up these stories. Let's get these games out quicker. You know, I don't need to be in Paris swinging around as Spider-Man. It's going to feel just as good as swinging around as Spider-Man in Manhattan.
Yeah, that's true.
That, you know, but I don't know.
I don't know. Nobody
Right.
knows.
The final thing. What was your favorite suit, John? Let's end on that.
All right. So,
I'm sure you have a few.
of course, because I'm me.
All right, let's see if we can get some boondoggles going.
All right. So I'm just gonna. This is a
Let's
shout
start
out.
with Peter.
Peter? Okay, I only have 2 Peter suits that I wanted
Okay.
to shout out. So first and foremost, you know, it seems cliche and lame, but the symbiote suit is just dope. I mean, it is what it is.
Yep.
But the one that I found myself using all the time was Peter's is called the Superior suit, which is it's your traditional Spidey suit. Which let me just say first and foremost, it's one of the best looking suits out there in all of superheroes. So like you're already starting with such a good bones, but like this one. It's like almost a dark, gritty version of it that makes him look like a little extra sinister, but they put like extra angles on his eyes, so his eyes kind of look a little bit cooler in my opinion. And then when you went into the alternate colors and things, they had an all black one with like a red logo, which was super dope, which is the one I use most of the time. But then they had a really awesome like royal blue, cobalt blue kind of looking one too that I thought looked really, really nice. And so it's very classic looking, but I thought it was dope. I will say I thought the Spidey on the back was kind of dumb. It like, almost looked like there was like some sort of just like block on his back. I don't quite know what that was, but I love the way that the front of that one looked.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Is that all you got for Peter?
For Peter, that's all I got.
Okay, I like the classic black suit because that's again the normal symbiote suit. It doesn't look as like sticky as the one in the game did. I have Spider-Man 2099 because of course the Miguel. And I think that was in the last game, so that's
It
just
was, yeah. It was.
Yeah. I have the Iron Spider suit. That was my go-to. It's like this metallic gold, red, blue. It's from the movies.
Yep.
Just great. And then I also like the Last Hunt suit, which kind of made Peter look like Kraven.
Yeah.
Because you had that big burly, like furry, like it was just a different suit than the typical ones. It just looked cool. It was a cool suit. But then let's go into Miles.
Well, so for Miles, I'll start off with this one because it's similar to the Last Hunt one. Is Miles' smoke and mirror suit, which was basically
boondoggle there.
Yeah, which was basically a takeoff of Mysterio, and it made me immediately want a version of every villain to have their own kind of suit play.
Yes.
Which like that would be dope. And like this one looks so good. They made the eyes smoky, you know, just like Mysterio would have. But I thought they did a really, really cool job with that one.
Yeah. It made that quest worth it, even though the ending wasn't satisfying. But you just got that suit and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Like this is because your head's kind of like a globe, just like Mysterio. I also had for Miles the Forever suit, which was just the Black Panther suit. Like,
okay.
That was a cool suit to like the Rock because he's got the claws. He looks just like Black Panther. And again, a great nod again to the expanded Marvel universe.
Well, if you had that one, you had to have had the best suit there is.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
The only tease in the whole game to Wolverine.
Yep. Yeah. That one, I definitely a special shout out. I don't think I ever used it very much, but when I saw it, it's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that one, and then I had 2 others for Miles that I liked. First and foremost, again, my love of Across the Spider-Verse. I just think the suits that they do for like that are playing off of that franchise, is so cool. I will admit something about this one more than the PS4 version of Spider-Man. It just seemed too choppy. Like when I play, I was like, God, I can't get used to the way that he moves. I appreciated everything it did, but I never really played as it. Just for that reason. But and then the other suit that I thought was I got it and I just laughed. Was Miles's City Sound suit, which is like the one where he looks like he's like a jazz player. It's like the most unsuperhero suit thing I've ever seen.
He had a few of those.
But I want to applaud the team for like thinking a little bit outside the box and like just kind of having this, it looks like the way that like I feel like Miles's grandpa would dress or something. Like it's just hilarious to me.
Another suit that I liked was speaking to the expanded universe was the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. suit that made Miles look like a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, especially the one with his colors, the black and the red.
Okay.
I was rocking that for a minute because he just looked like a tactical agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I appreciated. So, and that's all I got for me.
Yeah, that one is cool. Now I'm looking at it. Yeah, that's cool. So that's all I got for me as well. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Did you do any least favorite suits?
I did not. I didn't feel like going through them all again and just going, oh, I didn't like this one. If any of the suits had a hood, or were like there was the Japanese looking one, was it Kumo? It was like you had it right at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
A lot of those suits, the suits that kind of just didn't look like Spider-Man would wear it. Again, the suit that Miles makes in the story was pretty bad.
It's one of mine.
But any suit that just did not look like a Spider-Man suit to me, I didn't get anywhere near. So a lot of the hooded suits.
Yeah, I just have a couple. So Peter's Arachnite suit. I have one note. Just no capes. No capes. You can't do capes. You're Spider-Man. Yeah. Miles's Evolve suit, which was the one that he made himself. I'm sorry, Miles. Like, yeah, your hair is sweet, but if you see anybody you know, they're going to know immediately who you are. So it's just kind of silly to me. Plus, I thought it just looked bad.
Did you like his Carnage suit at all?
Yeah, kinda. I did. I just got it too late in the game.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't really use it, but it looked like it was one of the more detailed suits. It's just with like the little things kind of sprawling off of him. He kind of looked like oh god, why can't I think of what are the clickers like? What in Last of Us? Normal zombie guys in Last of Us.
Oh. Why am I spacing to?
You're doing it too. What the fuck? Infected? If they're not just Last of Us enemies. I feel so bad right now. I am on a PlayStation podcast. Yeah, they're just infected. Okay. Weird.
Yeah. We were thinking too hard about it.
Yeah. All right. And then one other is look this one up, Nick, because this one. I didn't really hate it until I looked at it truly, but it was Peter's Secret Wars Civil War suit.
I think I saw this one.
First and foremost, the suit cuts off around his forearms, which is just a really gross look for Spider-Man. And then this is exactly what if Spider-Man was a Proud Boy, this is how he would dress. So
tactical pants.
I'm good with. I do not need that suit at all. I thought that suit was sucky, but that's all I got.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the suits were definitely by far a giant highlight of this game. Even if you did a side quest like the Marcos, Mementos, and the ending was kind of unsatisfactory. At least it was like, oh, I got a new suit from it. So the suits are great, and again, something to look forward to in the future of the franchise. But I think that's it, John. We've talked everyone's ear off about Spider-Man 2 now at this point. We can kind of put it to rest. Do you have anything else to add?
No. Just overall thoughts. I really enjoyed my time with it. I thought the gameplay specifically was immaculate. Exactly what I was hoping for. Exactly what I knew Insomniac was able to do. The narrative, I think, was a little bit to be desired. After sitting with it for a little bit longer, realizing that Kraven's motivations was the silliest thing I've ever heard, that he just wants to hunt is just didn't land very well with me. So no. I gotta say, I know I said on the podcast that it was probably my game of the year. I don't think it is after sitting with it a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but it's still an absolutely must-play experience. Anybody who's into video games and just wants to have a good 30 hours. Oh, that's another thing. I think great length, like great platinum length for us busy dads out there that just can't spend every hour playing video games. To get the platinum, I think it took me 31 or 32 hours. Felt very good. And Insomniac is killing it, man. They continue to kill it, and Sony bought them at $275 million, which is the steal of the century. So
Yep.
Keep it going.
I agree. And then I lied. One last thing. We didn't touch upon this. Is there a chance this game gets DLC?
I know we talked about this at work, and you kind of convinced me against it because I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll get DLC." I was like, "Yeah, maybe not." Like, just with what they have to establish with Silk, what they need to, kind of just how long things take to develop now. I don't know. And with Spider-Man 1, the three pieces of DLC that they did release were released, I believe, like 1, 2, and 3 months after, announced before the game even came out.
Yep.
So it'd be weird to then announce something now. The only thing I could think of is if they made like the Carnage story DLC, but if it didn't tie into what Silk was doing. But no, I would put my money on nay.
Yeah, it's hard to say because they like doing these DLCs because eventually they can release the Game of the Year edition. There's the rumor about a re-release of Cyberpunk Physical that's going to include Phantom Liberty. We saw that with Horizon Forbidden West having, the complete edition, with the Burning Shores DLC. That they kind of like to do this so they can repackage you a $70 game. Mm-hmm. For that reason, it might happen, but I'm with you. I wonder if maybe we'll hear something at the Game Awards about this.
Well, I would say if we don't hear something at the Game Awards, then it's probably not going to happen.
Right.
Because
it would. Again, like Burning Shores was a year later. It's possible next fall will be DLC for Spider-Man. It's so hard to say.
I kind of hope that they don't focus on the big stuff.
Sure. Yeah, if it's Miles Morales first DLC or City Never Sleeps, it's Miles Morales all day.
Of course.
So I'd prefer that they just focus on another, 10 to 15 to 20 hour experience,
Yep.
So, all right. Now we finally have talked enough Spider-Man.
Woo!
Amazing game, amazing thing. And if you're just joining us for this bonus episode, and if you want to hear us talk about anything else, like other video games that aren't Spider-Man 2, we have a new podcast every Tuesday. So please listen to us. We have a lot of great opinions on things. At least I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm usually right about things, weirdly enough. So listen to me. I know stuff.
We had a lot of correct predictions about Spider-Man 2 before it came out. So, we know a thing or two about video games. So, if you like what you heard, you like our discussion, join our regular episodes every Tuesday. But
Brian Intihar, come on the show. Come on. Let's do it. Come on.
Reach out to him on Twitter, John.
All right, you got it.
See if he'll do it.
Yeah, I'll just go find out where he lives and knock on his house. That's how people get on your shows, right? You berate them at home.
Yeah. Just show up at his front door. He'll be okay with that.
Cool.
I think he works from home, so he's there a lot. All right, so we're gonna leave you again on that great song, "Swing." Again, a song that just kind of opened the game up and just said, "Hey, you're playing Spider-Man 2.
Have some fucking fun."
Yeah, have some fucking fun, and Spider-Man has had some great original music for it across the movies and this game and the games. Original music created for it has been fucking bangers. Goddamn.
Yep.
And this is a banger, and again, this is what kicked it off. So, kicked off our experience with Spider-Man. So we're gonna end that song again for you. So enjoy.
Good call.
Thanks for listening. We love you. Bye.
What's with great power comes great responsibility.
There you go. That's
Goodbye.
right. So remember that.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Together we win. Think you can catch us, baby? We'll see about this. Number from cloud to cloud. I'm so above the crowd. We can go pound for pound. We can go round for round. Alone in this world, they gon' doubt you. So join up your powers. Live in the world where they down you. Before they crown you. Divided your dreams are devoured. Together it's ours. That's where you find your destiny. Shout you're bound to. Chillin', it's a sticky feeling. I can sense it creeping closer by the minute. Let me get it, pushing past the limits, pushing past the ceiling. Promise I'ma end it. Most people got a power in them till they show the light, then they make you dim it. Most people, man, they scared of risk it. That's the only way you ever win it.
My senses bouncing off a wall, evil lurking every day. You don't ever need to go, I can feel it right away. Slim chance to beat the odds, but I always find a way. You ain't never just a nobody, go get them tigers, ring it up in the way.
Then my party ain't checking my seats.
say today with a flick of the wrist. Work together, give each other assists. You don't see me coming, I'ma plot twist. Senses are tingling, we find a feeling and get the tag team and them leave if they take it for what I'm believing in. I know my destiny greater than this. We got a bond that no evil can break forever, my bro. At the end of the day, this bigger than us, we got too much at stake. I'm good by myself, but together we great. Putting my life on the line for the citizens. See all the angles I'm weaving and pivoting. Then I'm drop kicking a criminal idiot. I recognize the playground that the city is. Feel like a jungle drum, feel like I'm juggling. Sky full of turbulence, street keep on rumbling. But I ain't worried about nothing as long as it's me and my buddy. We ain't gonna be struggling. You take the left and I take the right. We taking the chances and rolling the dice. Sticking with you like your uncle's advice. Trusting my instincts, I'm not thinking twice. I know my enemies not gonna play nice, so I'ma give it my all every time. Let go of fear, it's just all in your mind. Surprise what you find if you just look inside. Carpe the diem, now you on the night, but you gotta decide to fight or to fly. You doing what's right, it's bigger than pride. Really no limit with friends by your side.
Yeah, my senses bouncing off a wall, evil lurking every day. Yeah, I don't ever need to call, I can feel it right away. Slim chance to beat the odds, but I always find a way. You were never just a nobody, go get him, tiger swinging.